Okay, so the third question was the point M was -1, 4, and the point M was 3 and 4. So you was calculating the distance between these 2 points. If we see well, we'll see that this time it is the y coordinate that is the same both places. So this is my x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's plot the points and take the quadrants. There's no need to plot the points onto the quadrants, but I just want the exercise to spin in your head, so you know how to plot points, and I invite you to do it by yourself. When you watch the video, take a piece of paper, take a pen. You do the exercise around playing with me, with us. Let's do it together, and let's see how it's done. So, okay, we have to plot the points. I write 2 points. And write the point F is -1, go. N is right, 4. Okay. So this is x1, y1, x2, y. So let's plot these points. x1 is -1, -1. -1 on the x-axis there, here, and -1 there. On the y-axis, the point is 4. Where is 4 on the y-axis? Here. What is the point N? N be -1, 4. Let's go to the points N and see x2. What is x? It is 5. 5. 5 is here. I'm going to have 5 here on the x. So another 5 is here. What is y? Y is 4. Y is 4. Y is 4 on the y-axis. This is 4 on the y-axis. So I have to plug and reach 5 and 4. My point is going to be here, just here in time. N being 5 and 4, like that. So yeah, we see that these lines, these two are on the same line, on the same horizontal line. So when you see that, you know the difference. You know the distance between the two. You don't even need to calculate it. You see with your eyes that from here I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Instead of the distance is going to be 6. You just actually take the distance, the difference is these 2 points, and this is 6. That is 5 minus -1. 5 minus -1, you see? 4, I mean. 4 minus 5 minus -1. 5 minus -1, sorry, my bad. This is the point 5 and this is the point -1. So they take the distance between 5 minus -1 and -1. Let's reach the 5 minus -1, which is simple, so is 6. I will take all the things. If you don't take the distance between the y coordinates because the FN is same, the sum between them is 0. So you just have one part that is 6. So let's calculate the distance and check it as a 6. So it's actually 6. So what is the power of distance? We have distance is equal to square root of x2 minus x1 squared. They're going to see this configuration more often. Why? Because you will start counting with x. So you always want to say your formula starting with x. Any your midpoint. You will see the formula of the midpoint will start with x. So I also want to start with x so that I don't confuse you with which one to start with, either x or y. Always start with x. That is when you're calculating distance and midpoint. We're going to reach on midpoint 2. x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Because distance is a scalar. It has magnitude but does not have direction where you're going to understand the paper. It means distance and not the linear. So whether you put x first or y first, you are going to have the same answer because distance is. You see these squares are going to take care of the ellipses. Okay. So we're going to have square root of what is x2? Our x2 is 5. Put our bracket with 5 minus. What is x1? Minus 1. We put our square. Plus what is y2? 4. Minus what is y1? Minus 4. Y1 is 4. This one is squared. This one is going to be equal to 0. So that is going to give, what is 5 minus 1? 6 squared. Plus, what is 4 minus 4? 0 squared. How are you going to have? How is going to be square root of just 6 squared? Because 0 squared is 0. What is 6 squared now? 36. We should utilize d equal to no. Square root of 36 is 6. That is just going to be d. See, d is actually 6, right? Distance between this and this. 5 minus 1 just 6. Okay, so we are done with distance. Let's now dive to frequent height. And then in what quadrants? Which quadrant is this point? Which quadrant is this point? It is in the second quadrant. Good. This quadrant is this point. First quadrant. Good. So let's dive into the world of new points. Okay. So we are now in midpoints of a line. So what is the formula for midpoints? The midpoint is just the average, the midpoints now. The English is clear, isn't it? The midpoint, if you see how you point to here, and it points and 5 here. There, you point 6. Let's say point 6 here. Let me just say 0. You have a point 0 and a point 6. So you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is a midpoint? The midpoint just means the middle of the two. So the midpoint is going to be 3, right? So you go to 0, 1, 2, 3, I reach halfway. 1, 2, 3, I reach 6. So the midpoint is just the average of the coordinates. You just have the coordinates. 4 plus 6 divided by 2. I'm going to have 3. 3 is actually the midpoint. So this is the midpoint of the x. You also have to do the midpoint of the y. Let's imagine this point is here. This point, this 6 is actually here. And here about the y, this y positions are 4, this y positions are 1. So the midpoint on the y-axis is going to be 4 minus 1, 2. Which is going to be 3 and 2, 1.5. So I just need to see that clear. Wait, let me make it clear of this graph. Let's also just imagine. We know the midpoint. The midpoint is half the distance, right? Like the halfway. If you have a point here, let's imagine you have a point here, a point M. The point M is this point with coordinates x is 1 and y is 2. Let's imagine that is your point M. You have another point N. Here are the coordinates 5, 4. This is your point N with coordinates 5 and 4. That is the midpoint. You know the midpoint is going to be, because the distance between this and this is like this. Like Let's travel this distance. Let's imagine the distance is what is the way? What is the distance that should be? Carry out this minus this. This minus this is 4. 4 squared is 16 plus 2 squared. Product of 21. And the closest pair there, 25. So it's going to be 4 point. Okay, the distance is going to be 4 point something. So the midpoint is going to be 2 point something. On paper, you have the distance. Okay. The midpoint, you know that since the displacement between this one and this one is this way, this line, the midpoint is going to be somewhere in the middle here. We all know it's going to be somewhere in the middle here. So what's the meaning of midpoint? You just want, they will give you 2 points, 2 coordinates, like maybe the point M and the point N, and they'll ask you to find the midpoint. And that the meaning of that midpoint is just the middle between the 2 points. What is the midway between the 2 points? The point in the middle between the 2 points, in the exact middle. So here it falls, you will have 3 and 3. It's not actually accurate. You have to calculate and find the midpoint. So to find that midpoint, what do? I do this plus this divided by 2 now. I'll do 1 plus 5 divided by 2. Why do I do 1 plus 5 divided by 2? I want to move the midpoint on the x-axis. Oh, no, this is x and this is x. This here is taken, say x. So 1 point, I have 5 here on x, I have 1 b on x. 1 plus 5 divided by 2 is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. So the midpoint with the value 3, what is the y term of the Bitcoin? Alright. Excuse me. I'll have the x term with 3. What is going to be a y term? I'll just take a y wasn't here. This y minus this y, then plus this y is divided by 2. So for the y now, I'm going to have 4 plus 2 divided by 2. That's going to be 6 divided by 2, which is 3 again. Seem accurately how the value of midpoint died calculating. That's not how they do it though. You must calculate the value of the midpoint. You will not apparently have the value of midpoint all the time. So it's a formula to calculate it. Don't mind this is if it is not yet clear, don't mind, I go through many examples using the formula. This is just a kind of free explanation of what midpoint is. The midpoint just means the middle between the two. To calculate the middle between the two, add the two distances and divide by 2. I want to have the middle. Yeah. It's just like average. You have a max as 6 and max, and another mark is 10. If you want to calculate your average, you're going to say you're going to pick 6 plus 10 divided by 2. 16 on 2, 8. That's going to be your average and the middle point. Okay. So the midpoint of a line segment. Let's dive into the midpoint of a line segment. What's the summing up of midpoint? Midpoint L is equal to, as we said here, L is equal to x2 minus x1 on 2, comma, y2 minus y1 on the 2. Here, remember the coordinates here. The answer here can be is because it is a coordinate. You know, when we're calculating distance, it was not a coordinate, it was just a value of distance. The distance can be 5. The distance can be 10. But for the midpoints, we are asking for a point. The midpoint will not be a distance, will not be a unique value like this, it will be a point. A point always has 2 values, you see. For this point, you have 2 and 2. Likewise, a midpoint is a point that has 2 values. On a graph that has 2 degree of freedom base, it will bend way up. In what stop assembly realistic, and these are degrees of freedom. You see graph that have 3 degrees of freedom, maybe this is Z here. Well, but that's not the focus for now. So that's the formula to calculate midpoint. So that's the formula to calculate midpoint. Let's take an example. Calculate the midpoint between two parts. Let's calculate the midpoint between points. The first point is A. A, B, so on 4. And points B being 6 and K. So it may ask you to calculate the midpoint between these 2 points. Oh, it means to calculate the midpoint between 2 points, we use formula. That's easy as that. So the first thing that you have to do is this is your H1, this is your Y1. You label your points. This is P, X1, Y1. And this is X1, Y1. This is going to be X2, Y2. Like that. Oh. Label your points. Then you plug them inside this formula. So the midpoint between those 2 points is going to be X2 minus X1. What is X2? 6 minus X1. X1 is 2. All over 2. Comma. What is Y2? Y2 is 8 minus 1 is Y1. 4. All over 2. Then she implies the midpoint is going to be 1 is 6 minus 2. 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. What is 8 minus 4? 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Note 6 minus 2 is what? 4, right? 4 over 2 is 2, right? That is 12, this here. 8 minus 4 is 4. And 4 over this 2 is 2, so this is the midpoint of those points. So you see, you can have a complex question like there are given 2 points. First, plug them on a Cartesian plane. Cartesian graph like this. You have to plot the 2 points. Secondly, name in which quadrant they are. You have to name which quadrant the first, second. Thirdly, calculate the distance between the 2 points. So the distance. Then fourthly, calculate the midpoint. Into the line segments that the 2 points make. Yeah, when I did the we're going to make a line segment. I mean the midpoint is then 2 points. Yeah, it's before they teach you all of the others. So you see, all of them are not that difficult. You just have to retain the formula and to understand it. If you understand the concept of midpoint, of distance, it will not be difficult to master the formula. So that's all for this example. Let's take another example. I wanted to write the coming up. Very true. So the second example says P, the point P is minus period 5. And the point Q is 7 and minus 1. Yeah. So let's calculate the midpoint between these 2 points. The midpoint n is equal to x2 minus x1. So this is our x1, this is our y1. Never say that this is x1, x2. They're going to have everything wrong if you do that. This is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. It always starts with x and y. With time you're going to get used to it, you usually call this an xy plane. Now you're calling it Cartesian plane, I don't know. But with time you're going to call this an xy plane. X2 minus x1 is equal to what? X2 is 7 minus x1. 7 minus, what is x1? Minus 3. What about 2? And y2, oh, this is y2. Y2 is minus 1 minus y1 minus, what is y1? 5. How about 2? And implies n is equal to, that is 7 minus 3, 10. over 2. And it's minus 1 minus 5 minus 6 over 2. I'm sure by now you know how to calculate this. 7 minus minus 10 is the same as 7 plus 10 because the minuses are directly next to each other. Unlikely, the minuses are not directly next to each other. There should be difference. So here, what do? There are two minuses, but they are not directly next to each other. So the answer here is going to be negative. You know that it's going to be negative. When you know that it's going to be negative, you remove one of the minuses and just add them. Because in the reason know that the answer is going to be negative. So I will add the 2. 1 is 5 plus 1, 6. 6 is a 6 and I know that it's negative. I just put my negative 6. Which implies n is equal to 1 is 10 over 2. 10 over 2 is 5. And what is minus 6 divided by 2? Minus 6 divided by 2 is minus 3. Why is it minus 3? Because 6 divided by 2 is 3. Here is minus 8 become minus 3. So this is a midpoint. The value of the midpoint. So likewise here they ask you to put the points, find a quadrant, find a distance, find a midpoint. Okay, so we are done with 3.1 Cartesian coordinates. Shortly know how to find the coordinate of the point, plug a point with the coordinates, find the distance between the 2 points, and find the midpoint of a line segment created by the 2 points. So, I learned with that name, dive into linear graphs. Okay, so the example 2 says find the equation of a line with points 1, 3, 4, 9. Okay, we have done that already. That's what we just did. Example 2 says a line passes through 1, 5 and has gradient 2. What's the equation of the line? The equation is actually very easy. We all know the equation of the line. So solution. What's going to be the equation to that? It passes through 1, 5. So the point is 1, 5. You know that the equation of a line is equal to y is equal to mx plus c, where m is the gradient and c is the value intercept. So they're giving you gradient here. This implies the equation of the line is equal to 2x, y is equal to 3x plus c. So we are just looking for c. To find c, they've already given us a point to find c. So this is x and this is y. You don't need to put it as x1 and y1 because they did not give us 2 points. If you had another one, 3, 2, 5, maybe 2, 6. And I said this is x1, x2. This is x1, y1, x2, or 2y. No need. We have just 1 point, so literally x, y. So, to find c, I replace I say putting 1 and 5 in y. My y is 5. 2 into 1 as my x plus c. You see, I've replaced y with a 5. So 5. 2 into 1, 1y, x is 1, plus c. Which implies 5 is equals to 2 plus c. 2 times 1 is 2. What do I do? I switch it to side because I only see it on this side. So I reverse it. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. I'm not changing anything. I'll just put this one here and this one with this. The same thing. As I said before, 2 plus 2 equals to 4. It is the same like 4 equals 2 plus 3. You see, I just put this one, I put it here, this one, I put it there. Just switch your position, I will not change anything. So, since I want 6 here, you know, think this one this way. So I have 6 equals to, I probably want like 5. Since 3 was plus, here it comes minus 2. Which implies is equal to 3. Just like that. C is equal to 3. C is equal to 3. So just like that, we are done with 3.2 linear graphs. So after this, we are going to dive to distance time graphs.